All agents are currently assisting other customers. Please stay on the line and your call will be answered shortly.
Tracking something up ahead. Another ship? No.
Admiral, there be whales here.
Ready.
Today's Nerd Fights was brought to you by the Korovan Unified Meat Markets, featuring the finest selection of whale meat you'll find anywhere in Korova. Eee, that's good whale. Well, yeah. And also by these guys, because I guess for some reason they want to support Salty, those sons of bitch.
Computer and program?
Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to Nerd Fights Wednesday night, Star Wars night. And so, Ahsoka episode 3, Time to Fly. And so
it's a good title for this episode.
Definitely a faster paced episode than the first two. I think they should have opened with the first 3. I think.
Yeah, I when I get to my hot take, you'll understand why I said what I said, because I don't think you're picking up what I'm putting down right now.
So how was everybody's week? Anything exciting going on? Well, I know you Danny, you were saying business picking up for you, so you're doing all right, right?
Finally, yeah.
You're even shaving now.
Yeah, and trying to lose weight so I can fit into my suits, because I only have one suit I can fit right now, and if I am only wearing the same suit every time I meet clients, it might they might.
This is what great people me and Jason are. We start hanging around with Danny. He quits drinking, He quits drugs. He quits smoking. He starts shaving.
Well, cigarettes.
You
And
know,
I am vaping.
well, you know, one thing.
It's an improvement, though. A lot of people give me crap, and like I'm like, hey, can you not
We're gonna
poop
get
on
you to
me?
quit vaping soon. All right.
Yeah.
We would just get one, but you know, come on. We've already got you off the booze and the drugs, and the cigarettes. So the vaping, hey, you know, that's nothing compared to the rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just what awesome people me and Jason are. Just by hanging out with us, you know. But Jason and I are unshaven today, which is really embarrassing.
I am the unshaven masses most days, much to everyone's chagrin.
Yes, but it's so weird to see Danny to be the clean cut one. So
Danny's going to be the one flogging us and be like, "Come on, man, you're slacking."
Yes. Nah. Like, what is it? I'm not casting any stones. I got.
No, I just want to publicly say I'm very proud of you, Danny, because you've turned your life around in such a big way in the last couple of months, and so it's a big deal. It really is, because think about where you were a couple of months ago, and where so. I'm so happy for you, because and where you know and I know your life isn't perfect right now, but it's moving in the right direction.
It's going in the I'm heading in the right direction. I want to keep it going that way. Don Ranger Power, thank you. Hello to you as well. And thank you, Holton, for the kind words.
Holton just wishes he was gay so he could, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, if that did it for me, I'd be a lucky man, I'm sure. But I do want to say, Stan,
he's reserved for Ariel, just so you know. He's
no. But Stan, quit drinking and drugs, but it hasn't gotten late. You got to give me permissions again, man. I think I've earned it at this point. Let's just say, I have an addictive personality. I don't need to get laid anytime soon. I've done plenty of fracking in my life. I'm good until I find the right person. So,
yeah, I will tell you, just from what I know of Danny's past relationships, he needs to find someone that doesn't bring out the bad side.
Yeah, you know, I'm starting to lean into my mother's idea once I get my car situation handled and am driving again. You know, Mom, enjoy church. You'll like this. Hope you hear it before you leave. I'm probably going to take my mom's advice and try to find me a nice church girl. And that's not why I'm going to start going back to church. We've already talked about why I'm going to start going back to church, but I feel like it's a better place to meet a woman than a bar. So, you know.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. And so, you know, it's
work or church tends to be the safest places.
Yeah,
because at least if it's at work, they're probably responsible,
right? Yeah. No.
But where you're your work,
yeah, I mean,
probably not a good idea to pick up clients.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yes, sir.
How about you, Jason? I didn't get to hear anything happen with you since we saw.
The last 2 days have just been like a game of whack-a-mole. I was having a little bit of I can't type what I want to type itis, which cost me a couple hours today, but I'm sure you can sympathize with that. You've probably been there before.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
ChatGPT couldn't help you?
No. I would need some kind of cybernetic implant to fix that particular problem today.
Yeah.
It was PEBCAC all the way. So... But that just senior management just being fun, because you know they're always fun.
Holton wants to know where we all live. Is Holton new? I guess he might be new.
Don't recognize the name and the icons.
Yeah, we are kind of scattered about. I am in Tennessee. Jason is up in Canuckistan, and Danny lives in the pit of hell. So,
also known as Las Vegas.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yeah. So that's that. I mean, so we are actually almost as far apart from each other as we could possibly be, and all still be on the same continent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if Danny just moved to California. I moved down south to Georgia,
And I went to Newfoundland. Then maybe we could get farther apart, but that would be about it.
That's not that far.
Oh well, hey,
Yeah.
Holton is in Wales. He's
cool.
watching us from across
Wales.
the pond. Well, thank
Hey,
you.
that's cool.
The land of my people.
Oh, are you Welsh?
Yeah, the price side is Welsh.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I know hardly any, but if it matters to Holton, if he actually knows any actual Welsh, then my original family name was Apris, or son of rice.
Son of rice.
Son of a gun.
So two grains of rice got together and had you.
Yeah, well, something happened.
That's just weird, man.
450 and 450
weird,
years
man.
later, here I am.
So you are just outside Cardiff.
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 That's where there was a big WWE show there, Clash at the Castle.
Of course you would know that.
Of course I would.
Yeah.
Oh, and I got to see the cyborg doctor today. So
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
pretty good. It's funny because he thought I would be a good candidate to be a cyborg, but in order to qualify to be a cyborg, it is a requirement that I go through a psychiatric test to make sure I'm not schizophrenic.
They made me go through it's really weird. Back when I got the gastric sleeve, after the heart attack, they make you take all these classes and stuff, and they make you get a psych evaluation because for whatever reason, apparently there's a high rate of suicide after people get that surgery for some reason.
Well, for some reason, the implant that we're talking about, the spinal column stimulator, for whatever reason,
that's the thing my buddy Dale has.
Right.
About this.
For whatever reason, people who are schizophrenic have some very negative side effects with it. And so even though he said that, talking to me, I seem to be very, that it was pretty clear I'm not schizophrenic, and that, he would have no problem with it. Medicare requires that you do the battery of tests. And what happens is all the other insurance companies, the private insurance companies, just copy whatever the Medicare standards are. And so since Medicare requires that you get the test no matter what, then everybody else requires that you get the test. So I have to schedule a psychiatric test to make sure, I have to get the Homer Simpson not insane stamp before I can become a cyborg. But that's the next step. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Ahsoka episode 3. So, Danny, you've been dying to talk about this.
Well, I thought you didn't want to. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fine. I'll go first. Time to Fly. It's the name of the episode. If it weren't for you, frackers, it would be my time to fly away from this series. I'm too lost. What the? I'm trying to behave. Space whales? Really? Is this a thing now? This is a thing?
Well, they were a thing in the series, yeah.
Of course they were. See, I don't want. See,
yeah,
you're going to say that to every damn thing I bring up, and I just don't like that. I'm just,
And my hot take's going to touch on this too.
It's too short. I mean, they basically lifted dialogue from A New Hope. I don't know, man. I'm kind of over Star Wars, to be honest with you. I really am. There's my hot take. That's all I got to say, really.
All right, so yeah. And Jason.
It's better, but it's also worse. And I enjoyed this episode more than the first two, but there's problems everywhere. And unfortunately, kind of like the circle around the drain that Strange New Worlds is doing to the Star Trek franchise. Yeah. Misery loves company. Because this has turned into Star Wars, the Homework Edition.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too much. It's way too much.
Well, you cheated. You already did the homework, I guess. Well,
Yeah,
you
but
didn't cheat, you know.
that's the problem is I can see where all the landmines are with the level of homework necessary.
Yeah, but I mean, are you just saying that because you don't like that other people have to do homework, or
Oh no, there are issues throughout in general.
right?
The entire and because this is gonna, I'll just pull one scene that tells me that Filoni has lost it. They did the whole training with sticks. He stole that from his own content.
How do you mean?
He already did this in season 3 of Rebels, except with a full-on Jedi Master.
Well, I mean, for 30,
like serious Jedi Master.
That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is you've got people like me who've never seen these shows, and they gave us a 30-minute episode. Why not throw in, like we were talking like last week, you could throw in little flashbacks where they like they live action shoot stuff and kind of fill in some blanks for people like me,
To actually support that, even though there was technically more that happened in a smaller window of time. After work, I went back and I rewatched some of the Rebels episodes. There is a ton more content in 10 minutes less runtime in almost any given episode of Rebels. So at this point, I'm going to have to start scoring this based on the total body of work. And I know that on some accounts, some people would disagree with that, but I'm sorry, this is a continuing story. This is a massively continuing story. And they are wasting time on stuff that we already saw. We've already seen these characters go through it. And
I can't click on it.
And they're not even doing, well, here's the bad part. The scene I brought up that I said already happened, there's no definitive explanation as to the fact that happened before. There was no use of that as any kind of flashback, like what you're referring to. They could have got somebody to be Kanan Jarrus, and they could have reenacted a few of the scenes that I'm speaking of that happened in season 3.
Again, those two people are...
Well, Kanan is the super duper guy who went blind and then still became even more powerful than ever.
Okay, you were talking about him last week. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the actual Jedi that trained.
So then you would have been able to throw in Kanan, and you would have had a scene with Kanan. It would have actually... Kanan is... He's the super blind Jedi guy.
And who's the other guy you were talking about?
Oh, no, just Ahsoka.
Kanan Jarrus. That's
not Ahsoka. Kanan Jarrus is his full name, sorry.
Oh, and okay. Then, I thought you were saying Kane and
Jarrus.
Sorry, yeah.
Tag team.
Yeah.
It'd be like saying Obi-Wan and Kenobi.
So you have him in there. You'd get the play off of the fact that Hera's... I think they've only referenced Kanan maybe a tiny bit, if at all.
You know what I did like about this episode? Hera was in it maybe like for a cup of coffee, and that was it. Like she was hardly in the episode. So that
which actually is hilarious because
and there's something there.
It's one of the few things that they actually started to get a little bit better is she was actually being emotive.
Yeah, she was better.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she was interacting with the kids, so I mean, I guess it's
but even during a little bit of the debriefing, she was being a little bit more on point for what Hera would have been like if you'd seen all 4 seasons.
I can't tell if Ariel's going clean shaven Danny, or she's going clean shaven Danny. I can't, her little.
She needs more H's there. We'll know. And I'm living up to my reputation tonight, there, Ariel.
Oh,
but it's doubly aggravating because there's just no excuse for it in this case. It's not like It's not like it's been handed off to someone else entirely. Not by any stretch of the imagination. We're talking about a
Who you calling
showrunner.
scruffy looking? Sorry.
We're talking about a showrunner who ran Clone Wars when it was fully LucasArts under George Lucas, or Lucasfilm or whatever, and also got to run the Rebels show under Disney's flag, and made it stick the landing and quickly. Like it had its feet under it probably about 2/3 of the way through season 1. Like they picked up pretty quick on that. And now he's walked off to this, and it feels like lazy weekend work.
Yeah. I got a question. Holton brings up a good point. Again, you guys got to give me back this ability. He says we are all Jedi now, apparently. Is that from the series as well? Because
No, that's
No.
That's
new.
That's and by the way, I actually kind of like the idea that what
no more Metachlorians or whatever.
Yeah,
now.
they're running away from that.
Yeah, they're trying to get away from the midichlorians and talking about, hey, not everybody has talent, but with enough focus, anybody can train to use the Force. And I like that because the Force is supposed to be about spiritual attunement, not just how many bacteria you have in your blood, so
yeah.
I do like that. And the reason it's so difficult for Mandalorians because Mandalorians are just so focused on what's right in front of you and combat.
Well,
They live too much in the moment. Yeah.
Even in the sequel trilogy, they talk about whether you're Force sensitive or not. They don't explicitly talk about Metachlorians, but they so basically this
Midichlorians are only mentioned directly in the
prequel. So as this new series, Ahsoka is basically setting up that like anyone's capable of using the Force. People who are Force sensitive are just born lucky, apparently, if we're not thinking about Metachlorians, and
right,
it just comes easier. It just
yeah.
comes easier to them, but with enough training and focus and discipline.
Right.
Is that kind of what?
Yeah, that's kind of like, for example, if you are 6'6", it's a lot easier to play basketball. However, if you're 5'9", you can learn how to shoot from the 3-point line.
Right. Good analogy. Okay.
Right. So anybody can learn how to play great basketball, but if you're 6'6", it's a lot easier. Right. So
you having internet issues today? You got like some bad weather or something? You've been cutting out quite a few times now.
Me?
Have you noticed it too, Jason, or is it my internet?
No, it might be on your side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was pretty consistent, but
So you satisfied with your take there, Jason?
yeah.
All right, and I'm sorry for the low lighting once again. I've been having problems with migraines. So
You're supposed to have light in front of you, not behind you. Also, the light behind you is kind of blowing you out a little bit.
I know. I forgot to turn it off before the show.
Okay.
Usually, that's the only light in the room, and so the two lights here, I usually don't have on at all. But so here's what I'm going to say: these two guys, screw them. This episode was awesome.
That's why it's called Nerd Fights.
Yeah, don't listen to anything they're saying. You know what? Finally, we have freaking Star Wars in Star Wars.
That was a good scene. That was a good scene.
What I missed about Star Wars is Star Wars. I want freaking space battles in Star Wars, and this whole episode was about a space battle. I know it was short. I know it was brief, but you know what the focus of this episode was? A freaking space battle. I loved it. I enjoyed the crap out of this episode. These two guys are idiots because they don't know what Star Wars is.
Hold up. Okay.
Star Wars.
The space battle was okay until Ahsoka
it was freaking
jumping
awesome.
And landing like in the like somehow she's able to keep her in, like that's not how physics works, man. Like I mean,
which part?
Where she's on top of the ship. And she's doing jumps and stuff.
I'm sorry.
And like by the time she jumps, the ship shouldn't be there for her to land on. It should be
Star Wars. Look, physics in Star Wars has always been a freaking joke. Okay,
All right.
it really has. And so, I mean, like I made the joke in the intro video I made about them saying dive in space.
Yeah, that's
And you know, they even the dumbest part is even after she dives, she pulls out of the dive like she needs to avoid hitting the bottom of space. Did you notice that?
oh yeah. There's many
It-
things I
it's
noticed.
hilarious.
Believe it or not, the Ahsoka outside is by far the most on point thing. There's
Really?
way more wrong, and oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's plenty wrong with the physics of Star Wars, but that is nothing new. Star Wars and I mean, because you know, going all the way back to the original trilogy, you know what ships cannot and would never do in space? Bank on a turn. That just can't
Right.
happen. That's
Yeah.
not how it works. But Star Wars invented that.
Yeah, think about like when they had to peel away from crashing into the Death Star 2 in Jedi.
Mhm.
They banked as though they were, you know, in an atmosphere as
Right.
opposed to just in
And the
space.
whole idea that Lucas, when they did the first Death Star fight, everything was just based on World War II footage, and that's
Mhm.
what he wanted, and that's fine. That's so, and you know, and this looked like World War II in space, and that's what Star Wars is. It's World War II action in space, and that's
And
what
Stargate, apparently, or whatever
and
that
that's
is.
what this felt like, and I was perfectly fine with it. It was freaking Star Wars. And so I enjoyed it. It was space wizards and space battles, and
Well,
that's
we
what
saw
was,
Balin for like 2 seconds at the end. He's my favorite
yeah.
character.
But you know
You
what?
know?
It looks like we'll get more Balin next week.
Yeah.
You know, this week we got
Well-
the attack dog in her fighter.
We
Mhm.
got what we got was 5 minutes of content stretched into a 10-minute space battle.
Oh, quit your bitching! You just, you know, you guys just want to sit there and whine about.
No, I don't. You know, I'm
perfectly
like,
good episode.
I just sat down and watched 2 hours of various content from both Clone Wars and Rebels. And I am telling you, this is a shadow compared to anything that Filoni put out before.
I'm not saying that it's a masterpiece. I'm saying it was a space battle that was good, and that's something we haven't seen. And by the way, it was beautiful to look at.
You
And
know-
Oh, you'll get no complaints from me on special effects and production quality. This episode is even this episode is even better than what they did in the first two, frankly, to a good extent. And it's generally all even better than anything they had in Andor. Because Andor, unfortunately for me, has a giant strike against it because I think in like the first episode, some idiot let an AK-47 get used as a prop. So that's
you know,
a bit
guys,
of a-
I'm just having a really hard time focusing and concentrating. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a little break here. And
Do you have an
try
aid?
oh,
try
you
some
have
of
some
this.
fuel up.
fuel
Oh.
up play.
Oh
Yes.
man,
Concentration.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah. So all you guys have to do, it's really simple. You take the little tumbler they give you, this thing here. You put in 16 ounces of water.
Now that tumbler comes with the fuel up play, doesn't it?
It does. Yes. And then you do one scoop. They even give you the scooper, like one scoop. I like a heaping scoop because this is my favorite flavor. It's the fruit punch. So I'm gonna just drop that in here. Yeah, look at that. And then I drop in my little mixing ball thingy.
And the mixing ball comes with the tumbler.
Yes, it does. And then I'm just gonna.
And you know what
Take
I
it
do
on
is
top.
I'll throw some ice in there too, just to make.
I put the ice in after, you know. So then,
Mixing bowl.
Yeah, isn't
That's
that
a
cool idea?
interest. That's a curious.
Yeah, it has a little mixing
Yeah.
ball to make sure that it mixes up good.
Huh.
yeah, you just do a
That's
little
literally the
couple of
first
these.
time I've ever seen a mixing bowl.
Yeah. So there we go. Got that going now. And then I'll put some ice in a second because it is better cold. Let's see if how I did here.
And notice it's a little fizzy. It's just a little fizzy, and I
Just a little bit of effervescence, like yeah.
Yeah, see that? I want to try that so bad.
Fuel up.
Stanley, will it blend?
Well, it actually says on the packaging, don't mix with alcohol. But so anyways, you can shrink me down. I'm going to get a little bit of ice. And maybe by the end of the show, I can focus. I'll let you guys know. I'll be right back.
So, yeah. So I still think that they're that
You should be, while I'm putting the ice in, pimping the link, or something.
Oh yeah. So if you want to get some fuel up, the link for it is in the description. That is an affiliated link with us. So we will get a tiny little kickback if you happen to buy some there, and there is a discount involved. So check it out at the link in the description of this and every video that we do.
Yes.
So thank you to the good folks at Fuel Up for being our one and only sponsor. All right. So let us continue on.
Focus.
Remember, it's like crack, but you drink it.
But you drink it.
And
this one is really tasty, actually.
Yeah.
I can't wait till you get yours. This flavor.
So we start out the episode with a space butthole.
A flying space butthole.
Yes, and then we see that the space butthole has a ship in it, and this is where we get the training that you hate so much.
Well, I don't hate it.
It's not that we hate it. It's just, first of all, I get what they're doing. They're trying to pay a little homage to Obi-Wan and Luke. She even drops the exact same line to Ahsoka here in a second. It just felt longer than it needed to be. I don't know.
Well, for a show that is desperate to try to avoid the homework problem, they keep ruining opportunities to eliminate the need for homework.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another one that they've walked on by. And they're going to walk by another one when we get to the whales.
And you said this exact same thing happened with...
in effect, she went through a big training session with Kanan Jarrus in the desert on one of the secret planets that they were hiding on in the Rebels series, where she trained her to be far more proficient with the Darksaber. And in less than 20 minutes of runtime, there is more story and more character development and more emotion than everything that we've gotten in the 3 episodes of this show so far.
Yeah, I know you like Rebels better. Okay, we get it. Jeez.
And yeah, but it matters.
My only problem is, what is this that she's wearing?
Prop
looks
department
like
ran out of ideas, and they didn't want to just straight up copy the blast shield to get completely. Because as soon as that helmet came out, I'm like, oh no! The real haters are gonna just go nuts. They're gonna be like, Luke Skywalker. You know that they're freaking out about that.
If they didn't want to just do first of all, I think they should have either had just the same kind of helmet as before, because it was just a standard helmet. Or because that makes no sense. That looks like, we designed a helmet that you just can't see through.
World's worst welding mask.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like a fencing mask, just completely.
Yeah, except a fencing mask that you can't see through.
Right.
Yeah.
There'd be no reason for that ever.
No, it's
except for this specific training scenario. That's the only reason this would exist. But what I think would make more sense is if she grabbed a scarf or something and tied it around her eyes.
But the bigger problem with this scene is, and I did, by the way, watch this whole episode a second time before I started into watching Rebel stuff right after work. So the biggest problem with this scene is that it's in direct conflict with the whole cups on the table thing that we're going to see a little later.
Right.
It's clear that regardless of what got said in Rebels about her potential as a fighter by Kanan, and regardless of the sort of, inclination from the way that Ahsoka's lines go, that maybe
And
she
fair
could
point
find
from
a way.
Stan Lee, by the way, that it could.
You can't see through a welding mask unless you're willing. Yeah, well, as long as the lights are all off. The Ahsoka kind of makes it sound like that maybe possibly if she tried really, really hard, she might be able to, cause a sheet of paper to move on the table or something. But if you can't even do that, then what is even the point of putting her in a mask?
I don't know. Did anybody else? It kind of in a second when she's doing the cup thing made me think of Silent Bob from Mallrats. I don't know why. It just kind of.
Well, I haven't seen Mallrats, so.
Oh God, what's wrong with you?
Oh, it's
no,
been
it's
ages
the whole
since I've seen it.
Throughout the movie, it's a gag where like Silent Bob's trying to use the Force to like move his cig, and then at the very end.
Oh yes, I remember that.
He's hanging upside down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I do remember.
Anyway,
that.
So as far as her trying to detect her, I would think that I would think that as a Force using the Force, it would be easier to detect another person than to move an object. And so,
that's the reason why this is a problem. Because she fails at this and then moves towards encouraging her to try to move a cup. So it's like, let's just fail harder.
No, well, you know what? She doesn't, I would say this, she doesn't ace it, but she doesn't completely fail it because she does successfully defend a couple of times. But
but Ahsoka's not even trying.
Well, it's not like Ahsoka's trying to kill her.
No, but she's not even trying a little bit.
But I'm sorry, she does a whole lot better than you or I would do.
Yeah, but it's not about you and me.
Right.
Kanan,
she successfully defends a couple of attacks. So she does
successfully or luckily.
Did you know?
Wow.
Did you know we could be simulcasting this on our Twitter channels? I didn't know that. Do you know how to do that? We got to start doing that. Like why not? It's another place.
I was putting it on my Kick channel for a while, but nobody was watching it there.
Well, I want to learn how to do the Twitter thing because
Twitter's really blowing out the whole trying to do video constantly thing. So
I think that would be
I can't do it on my Twitter because I actually made affiliate on Twitter a while back, so I cannot simulcast on Twitter because the agreement says I can't do anything on Twitter and YouTube at the same time.
Might want to double check into it because Elon's been getting aggressive at trying to get
not Twitter. I'm sorry, I'm confusing Twitter and Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you should probably be fine on Twitter.
Yeah, because Joe just started his show, Judas. And he's streaming it also on Twitter, and I would love to be able to do that. If we can figure that out later, sorry, production meeting stuff, we'll do that.
but no, it's just the reason why I get crusty about this now that I've had more time to absorb it, watch it a second time, is because it's wasted opportunities to do it far better, and I expect significantly better from Filoni.
You're just being crusty to be crusty because I don't think this scene is nearly as bad as you do. I think that I don't think this scene is like this super iconic scene that we're going to remember for decades. I don't think this scene is nearly as bad as
highlight Holton's thing for me because that's how I feel. Like, and they're changing it now. They're changing the Jedi Force lore here. I agree with you, Holton. It's just.
I don't know because I think that here the thing about wielding the Force is that most people don't have the discipline to do it, and so it is still. And by the way, she doesn't have talent, and that's one of the reasons that she sucks at it.
But you said this is the same chick that wielded the Darksaber, right?
Yeah,
in the cartoon.
She's an expert weapons person.
Yeah, but remember, you still had to have some type of Force sensitivity because Din Djarin couldn't. he could barely wield the thing.
He didn't have anybody to explain how the blade behaved.
Yeah, Din Djarin didn't understand it. He's never, and she had.
So the Force has nothing to do with using the Darksaber.
Not.
No, it's energy, but it's not.
It helps, but it's not absolutely contingent on it. No.
Right. And yeah,
anybody's saber for that matter. It's been shown that there's been non-Force wielders that have picked up other people's sabers.
Because I remember when it was such a big to do that. Oh God, what's his name from Finn? When he and everybody was like, well, he must be Force sensitive. He was using a lightsaber, and I was like, that doesn't mean he's Force sensitive.
Yeah, using it is irrelevant. The fact that he used it as well as he did against Grumpy
Kylo
Pants.
Yeah,
as
Kylo
fast as like right off the bat, like that didn't make any sense.
No, it was because he was trained trooper, and remember he was. If you looked at the first
he was a janitor.
But he was still combat trained. If you look at the troopers, they were trained, and specifically a lot of them were trained in anti-Jedi tactics. And you notice that a lot of them carried weapons that were designed to counter sabers.
Well, some of them did as the plot required, but that was about it.
Well, it would make sense that he was obviously trained in that kind of stuff.
Cool. I want to be a janitor too.
You know what? Everybody in the Army goes through basic training.
Everybody. Yeah, basic training, not take on the SAS training.
Actually, basic training includes full combat training.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean take on tier 1 operator training.
It kind of does.
Not really.
Yes. It means going to full on combat. It means, using the weaponry. It does mean that when you go through basic training, you are a deployable soldier in the United States Army.
Sure.
Okay. So if, assuming that in his case, the First Order, if their standards are good enough, then getting through their training program means that he is fully capable of fighting, and assuming that they have an element of hand-to-hand combat as well as how to handle a blaster, well, then him using a saber is not out of the question. Why wouldn't
That's a lot of assumptions. And to use your own rule on you, if it didn't happen on screen.
But what we do see on screen is other troopers using hand-to-hand weapons. And we do see Finn wielding the saber without that much difficulty. And so I think it's logical to assume that he had training.
Well, we're never going to get to the bottom of this.
But that has nothing to do with this. As far as this is concerned, I just think that you're hating to hate. I think you've just become a hater. That's all there is to it.
I had expectations and they're not being met.
See, it's not the way I wanted it to be, so it sucks.
Well, you have expectations. I have zero expectations. Yet you and I are kind of agreeing on on more things than he's agreeing with me on.
So Jason just said that because it's not the way he wanted it to be, it sucks. That's what he said.
I remember one time.
Tim, welcome to the party, pal. Thanks.
You asked me, can you prove that something is or is not objectively good or bad? Well, welcome to the party.
So here's an absolutely gorgeous shot.
Here we go. I was like, okay, great. Now we're going to actually see some stuff.
The ship porn in this show is so good.
It's the best. It's the best ship porn.
It really is. And anybody that says it's not is insane.
No, it's some of the very best everything. And I swear some of this stuff is so good that if someone all of a sudden told me that some of these are practical models, it wouldn't shock me because it looks so good.
Yeah. I mean, every time they show one of these ships, I'm just like,
yeah, it's some of the best Star Wars ships.
Well,
some of the best ships in sci-fi.
Sums it up perfectly. Says the CGI is just eye candy to distract you from the poor storytelling. You know,
I'm sorry. I know people like to say this, but good ship porn in a sci-fi series like this, a space opera like this, is important.
no, it is important,
And
but
so,
so
But
is
you
story.
can't.
So is writing.
But
You know?
yeah,
yeah,
but
so far, you know what? I first of all, so far, I'm interested in the story. You may not be. I am. And so
But
that's
you've
just
also watched Rebels, haven't you? Right?
I
Yes.
have, but that doesn't, you know what? Even if I hadn't, okay, so even though, yeah, I'm not a big fan of and we'll talk about this in a minute, but I'm not a big fan of the fact that they don't give enough backstory for the Rebels characters. But okay, Ahsoka is, you would assume, a Jedi, who's
Look at
kind
that
of
comment from Tim. That's spot on. That's
what
spot on. That one right there.
this.
Yeah.
Well, I disagree.
yeah, I won't go so far as to say it's a nothing burger, but it's way too.
Well, what
little
happens
burger.
to advance the story?
Uh,
We see space whales. We get a little.
we saw a
training
pile
montage.
of things that require homework. That's the
Well, not
problem.
necessarily. You see, the
Again,
thing is that this episode was set up, and like any series. I mean, it's like you could say the same thing about any of the first several episodes of Picard. I mean, you absolutely.
yeah, but I already made that
No,
comment.
I know. I'm
when
just saying because
last week. I already said that.
I'm just talking about Danny loves the Picard series.
No, and I get it, and it's impossible for you to enjoy. We talked about this last week. You cannot really enjoy Picard season 3 fully if you never watched TNG. So it is the same thing. We talked about this last week.
But I'm just saying, if you watch any of these types of series, an episode like this is designed to set up for what's coming, and so they got to introduce.
Yeah, but when you gave us 2-hour-long episodes, and then you give us this little 30-minute episode, like
I didn't design the episode length, but I don't know why that it is what it is. I don't have a problem with the episode runtime, because I felt like this episode was an appropriate runtime for what they did. And you thought it was too short, fine.
I thought it was. I have no issue with the length. I have every issue with the density of content.
See, I didn't. I thought it was fine because I thought, and maybe it's because it's freaking Star Wars, right? I'm not expecting it to be deep philosophical content.
But it doesn't even have to be deep and philosophical. It just has to have good pacing and actually tell us stuff.
Pacing. It absolutely did have good pacing, and
it had better pacing.
It had good pacing, and it was enjoyable from beginning to end. I was never bored with this episode, and then at the end of this episode, I was excited for what's coming. Because the nice thing is this episode was a build up. Like, we start out with, okay, they're heading towards whatever this thing is. We cut over here and we see that Hera is working the political angle. And fortunately, that's all we get of Hera, which is, one of the smartest decisions of the series so far.
Well, it's a bit of a good bad.
I'm laughing at Tim's comment. Sorry. Oh, you just glazed over that. Who was that kid?
Jason Sandula. Or no, that was nobody on the screen there. We won't see Jason.
Okay.
Yeah, we won't see Jason until the other side of the conversation here.
Yeah, this guy was just a dick.
So she talks to the chancellor and the council, and they're like, yeah, we ain't giving you any military because
it was that everybody was on board until that one dude just shot it down and then swayed them all. Is that some foreshadowing? Is he bad? Is he a secret bad guy?
I don't recognize him.
I doubt it. I think, what, he's probably, my guess is at this point, because Thrawn is so isolated, it's unlikely that he's got people infiltrated in there.
Well, he had somebody infiltrated on that one episode that was terrible with that doctor with the pointless, with the chick.
It wasn't Thrawn. Remember, that was Gideon.
No. There was a Thrawn ally in that room. And he was even called out over it. Oh, yes.
This was in episode 3 of Mando, I believe.
Yes, yes. There's that big conference room episode where they were all standing around, either there or holograms.
The Shadow Council or whatever.
Yeah.
I do remember, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he's a Thrawn ally or if he's just. I mean, because remember, how many times? I mean, it's a trope now in Hollywood, where you basically have your good guys who are idiots because they don't want to commit the military to do something. Heck, and Padme Amidala did it.
I look, I don't have any specific issue with major plot point attempts, but it's how you walk into them that becomes the problem. You have to make them be believable at least a little bit, as opposed to.
I don't think this was unbelievable. That the council would be meeting and he'd be like, "Oh no, we don't need to be spending money." I mean, this sounds like he's the Democrat. That's what he sounds like.
Which is actually funny because they're the ones that send everyone to war lately.
Right, but he sounded like a freaking Democrat. Oh no, we need to spend money on social programs and blah 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 blah, not on more military stuff to try and hunt down people that don't exist. That's what he sounded like, and I didn't have a problem with that as far as from a storytelling perspective, because yeah, sure, he could be an evil Thrawn guy or he could just be a liberal.
And doesn't Mon Mothma know what's going on? Why did she just not?
Well, see, now that was if there's anything that I can actually put my foot down and have a legitimate gripe about with this whole scene, my biggest issue is Mon Mothma was in Rebels quite a lot. She knows exactly who Thrawn is. She knows exactly who Hera is talking about having lost to Thrawn, and not just Ezra and not just Kanan and Jarrus. But one of her strongest allies sacrificed themselves just before the Battle of Yavin.
But
so if there's a serious threat, like, they need to come up with something a little bit stronger than some weak sauce goofball off to the side trying to make a sad sack excuse. That's why this kind of gets under my skin a little bit. From a storytelling perspective, there should have been something a little bit more insidious as opposed to clumsy. Because at this point, the in the Star Wars storytelling universe, I understand that the New Republic are functionally incompetent in all versions of the Star Wars universe, extended universe, and Legends. It falls apart and everything goes sideways very quickly. But boy, oh boy, are they ever hamming it up for just how club-fisted this whole bunch of people are.
and here's why Jason is completely wrong. Is that everything that he talked about as far as, with the sacrifice and the disappearance of Thrawn and Ezra and everything happened, as he said, before the Battle of Yavin. And we are now a few years after the Battle of Endor, which means it has been a long ass time since the Battle of Yavin. And there has been
it's only 9 years. It's only 9 years.
Only 9 years. It's been 9 freaking years, and there's been no sign of Thrawn, no sign of Ezra, no sign of any of this. And Hera, who, by the way, doesn't look like she was involved in anything 9 years ago, except for getting her diapers changed. Which
there's no question the casting on that is just
maybe whatever
wrong.
her species is, is like don't.
Yeah, this is bad cat. Anyway,
age slower.
It was 9 years ago that all this happened, and there's no sign of any of these people. And so at this point, she's still going, no, we got to find him. And they're like, look, it's over.
Well,
this would be like if 5, 6, 7 years from now, Donald Trump is still saying that he needs.
So if stealing the hyperdrive from a superstar destroyer.
Thank God, I thought you were about to say stealing the election. Let's not talk about
that. If stealing a hyperdrive from a superstar destroyer is a giant bucket of meh, then the Republic gets everything. The New Republic gets everything it deserves. I have no more sympathy for the rest of the storyline of Star Wars. It's dead.
Wait, stealing a hyperdrive from a stratosphere, what?
Stealing not just any hyperdrive, but the hyperdrive from a super Star Destroyer that was set on screen. Stealing it, and then the head of the Republic is like, I can't override this mealy mouthed guy beside me. You know, why would we bother to look into stealing an insanely valuable asset that could be used for all kinds of nefarious things?
Well, there's a ship checking it out. They're just not going to send an armada of ships on a hunch.
There's nobody checking it out because they already told them where it was going. They never sent anybody. They literally sent nobody.
They know that Ahsoka is on her way to check it out. She knows that. That's where her intelligence is coming from.
Yeah, but if people are stealing stuff, they're criminals up to no good. Oh, we're going to send one ship.
And you know what you don't do? You don't send the Navy after a criminal.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
I mean,
okay. Whatever.
I'm just saying, like, if some guy steals something,
I mean, you don't really send the Navy to do anything except transport Marines around anyway.
Yeah, you don't send the Navy. All right,
but you don't send nothing.
The Navy if there's a threat to the United States, right? You don't send the Navy because some guy stole something.
Yeah. See, look, you send a blockade runner and a couple of snub fighters. Because if anybody's stealing something that belonged,
I'm just going to send an aircraft carrier because someone stole a rocket from Elon Musk.
This isn't common thievery on planet Earth.
It wouldn't be
20th
common
century
thievery to steal a rocket from Elon Musk.
Yeah, but you know what they don't? You know what we can't do? It's just up and travel from one star system to another.
Right, that's why I'm putting it into terrestrial terms. If someone stole a rocket
but you
from
can't
Elon
do
Musk,
that. You cannot do that. We're talking about things with hyperdrives.
See, now we got Tim yelling at us, man. He says the National Guard goes after criminals in all caps.
I don't even care about the National Guard.
The border. The National Guard doesn't go off to the middle of the ocean.
All right, okay. So let's play in-universe inconsistencies then. Why did the New Republic send X-wing fighters to go intercept Din Djarin, but they're disinterested in going to fight?
Those were they actually established that. Those were local law enforcement patrols.
So then go law enforcement patrol the stolen merchandise.
You know what? That area might be outside of the Republic. That might be why they're hanging out of that system.
Okay.
Headcanon. Okay. Gotta love it.
Yeah. Right. Well, I don't know. They didn't say, but we don't know if that system is in the Republic or not. I would guess that it wouldn't. I mean, it would be kind of stupid to be building your. Well, of course, the reason they're building there is because that's where the hyper.
The magic map reader is there as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, moving on. Then we see our one and only shot of Chopper, and
I got a question.
We also get the kid.
Back on the kid.
Yeah.
Back on the kid.
Yeah.
Who is this kid?
That is the son of Kanan and Hera.
Okay, why doesn't he have tentacles? Like, I'm confused.
Because Kanan is human.
Adopted son?
No,
she birthed that thing.
The biological son of a human and a Twi'lek. So,
and he just doesn't even.
He has like slightly green hair. In the cartoon, they gave him full on green skin, but in this, they've decided to not.
Yeah.
See,
I don't know.
Do you see how fucking confusing that is to someone like me? Like, I had to ask you, like, just okay,
because that hair is not that ultra remarkably standardish as green.
It doesn't even look green to me. Like, are you seeing that's supposed to be green? It looks like a.
At first, I just Asian kid had styling like Sabine. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So, I think they should have done something to. They should have given the kid green skin. I'm sure they just didn't want to make a kid sit through makeup like that because there are certain rules as far as how long you can have a kid work and putting them through that kind of makeup time would violate those rules.
Well, they could have also just put a chroma key mask on him, and that would have fixed the problem.
So in the cartoon, he didn't have tentacles, but he had green skin.
Yeah.
I could have dealt. I mean, at least
that would have made a lot more.
obvious.
It makes insta sense as soon as you see it.
But doing a chroma key version, he wouldn't have looked. I mean, trust me, it wouldn't have looked right. The only way to really make it look right would be to give him the makeup, and to do the makeup would have taken more time than you can have a child actor work in a day.
Yeah.
He's in the episode all of like 60 seconds. I mean, come on.
No,
that we saw, unfortunately, poor kid could have sat around eating craft services for 3 hours.
Right. That's the problem. And the makeup time, I know it doesn't seem like it, but the makeup time for something like that is in the hour.
It could easily be 2 to 4 hours without
and kids are extremely limited to how many hours they can do in a day.
No, and I get that. That's why I kind of lean towards if they could have done like a chroma key mask.
Yeah, but like I said, a chroma key mask would have not have looked right. It would have looked off and fake, and people would have complained about that. So
I guess, yeah, because I mean, people's hair caught on fire over Tarkin and Leia. So I mean,
the problem is there's no win on this.
No,
there's literally no win.
Yeah.
All right, so back here. So now we have the coffee talk that you hate so much.
Well, I don't hate it. It's all sloppy.
You hate everything in this episode.
It's contradictory, and it's.
How is it contradictory?
Well, wouldn't you start off small, like let's move cups, not like blind fight? I don't know. I mean, I kind of see his point.
It should have been the other way around. And frankly, I thought the way that, and like I said, they wasted the fight was not necessary. The stick fighting, the way they could have done a flashback. They could have done a flashback.
I know they could have done a flashback.
Tim, to your last comment, I just thought of this. Spray tan him, but do it green. That takes a couple minutes. You know?
That'd be like the gold spray stuff they put on.
He's a kid, right? You get the fact that there are certain things you're not supposed to do to kids that you can do to adults.
Artists suffer for their art.
It doesn't matter. Adults, you can do all sorts of stuff, but kids, you have limits. All right. So anyway, they're doing the hyperspace thing. And talking about how Sabine's not ready because she has no force sensitivity, and she's trying to move the coffee cup, and of course fails.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, people say, "Oh, well, they're making it so anybody can use the force." Sabine has yet to use the force.
Yeah, people need to. There is a bunch of stuff I did see bits and pieces of at lunch. People are complaining about things that don't exist. Like in no way whatsoever. Like the people aren't running around using the force. Sabine is not Ahsoka's secret lover. Like there's all kinds of stupid crap people are making up. Like it's ludicrous.
Well, remember how last week I said I watched a video where somebody was trying to claim that Mystery Inquisitor was Starkiller?
Yeah.
The guy that played Starkiller was in the credits this week. Did you notice that? The actor from Battlestar Galactica who played Starkiller, his name is in the credits under the voice acting section.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. So there might be a little credence to that rumor. Anyway,
well, we'll have to look at the credits. I did not notice.
Yeah, I'm running off to check on IMDb at the moment.
So they drop out of hyperspace in the system, and they're trying to check out what's going on. And all of a sudden they're ambushed by 2 squadrons of World War II fighter planes in space.
I was going to say they look like some weird combination of General Grievous's ship and like an N1 starfighter. They're very oddball looking.
But now here, this is one of those things. I mean, the modeling here just looks so good. Look at that tail gun.
Oh no, it looks. Yeah,
It's just gorgeous.
We're not arguing with you on the special effects.
I know, but you know what? That's what Star Wars is. Star Wars is Star Wars. Star Wars. That's what it's supposed to be. And the rest of this episode is Star Wars. That's why I enjoyed this. You know, I do want the spectacle of Star Wars. And this whole sequence of her in the tail gun section and the ships trying to pound each other and bam, bam, boom, boom, explodies. This is freaking Star Wars at its Star Warsiest. And I enjoyed the absolute ever-loving crap.
Yeah. How far into the episode are we? How long does this last? Come on. Give me a break.
It's about the halfway point.
No, it's over the halfway point. Because you got previously on,
right here
you got
is
the credit intro, and then you got the end credits.
Danny. I don't know if you can see. Look on the screen.
I can. What I'm saying is, just because
almost exactly halfway is the shot of the tail gun,
and there's 5 minutes of credits at the end, and there's
there's also recap at the beginning.
Exactly,
this is the halfway point. All right, so halfway through the episode, we start the so the last half of the episode is pretty much battle. There's
not really.
A nice shot of the.
We get 5 minutes of battle, and then after that, it's fly through the space whales for 10 minutes.
Well, there's battle in the space whales, though.
There's them being shot at by the bad people. I wouldn't call that
a battle, dude. You may not like it, but too bad. That's still part of the battle. Is the whole thing is them dodging enemy fire. I mean,
But they're not getting to shoot back. They're in runaway mode.
So you don't think it's battle because they're not what?
Yes.
Because only one side is doing the shooting.
Because the tempo of the conflict has switched from battle to escape.
It's usually
whatever. You don't understand what a battle is then.
I know what running away is, and this is them running away.
Yeah.
The whole thing
she's not getting in the back, and she's not
all
on the
of it is them running away because they're outgunned the entire time. At no point are they on the attack. They are constantly trying to get away.
Well, considering apparently this ship has no forward blasters, it seems fated in an interesting, if not convenient way to, force that.
Well, that is weird. By the way, what's Eckert's Ladder? Great channel for Star Wars content. I'm not dissing him in any way, shape, or form. If you like Star Wars content, particularly Legends content, he's a great channel. But he made a huge mistake the other day in one of his videos about Ahsoka. He called this ship the Ghost. Why?
Was it him or was it the British guy that does some of the shorts?
No, it was Eckert's Ladder. He called this ship the Ghost. Don't know why.
That was definitely an oopsie.
Yeah. So as they approach the giant donut of doom, she turns on the turbo lasers, and then things get real.
Which I had no issue with the turbo lasers, but I love how, and this is a heavy duty swipe, but in the same stupid design spirit of bombs in space, why do we have flak all of a sudden from turbo lasers?
Dude, this is nothing new.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
The effects are different, but the turbo laser, the concept of the turbo lasers doesn't change.
No, turbo lasers aren't flat.
Get yours today at fuelup.gg.
You know why they do it? Because it looks cool.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And besides, it makes as much sense as anything else in Star Wars because turbo lasers aren't lasers.
What's the biggest complaint we've been having about a lot of IPs? The biggest complaint is a lack of consistency.
Right. Star Wars has never had consistency, though.
Well, they're doubling down on not having it now.
Yeah,
is the biggest problem.
turbo lasers. I've always laughed about the fact that they, the super weapon on the Death Star is called a super laser, right? The main weapons on in the towers and on Star Destroyers are called turbo lasers. And none of these things are actual lasers, apparently.
No, yeah, that's been
And-
long since established.
Right. Even though they use, well, we just call them all lasers. Well, then why call them lasers if they're not lasers? It doesn't make any sense. But hey, whatever. And maybe it's like, hey, maybe it's kind of like phasers set to proximity blast. Maybe turbo lasers can do that too. It's just, that's all it is. It's phasers set to proximity blast. It's
well, there shouldn't be clouds of dust coming off of.
No, well, because it's space, but apparently space in Star Wars is full of air. So, there's
Well, it isn't, but that's
no, it is, because remember in Rogue One, Darth Vader was literally standing on a platform in space, and his cape was blowing.
It was the air escaping from the hatch behind him.
No, his cape was blowing back, and he was standing on the edge of the. If it was the air being sucked out, his cape should have been blowing forward.
Well, someone off to the side needs to be fired. They were pushing the fan in the wrong direction.
So there's been all sorts of problems, and I mean, anyway,
but there's a difference between a gaffe, like something like that, and then 75 million explosions of apparently flak.
No, you just don't like this show, is all. I do think this is another nice shot, though, of the not ghost flying past the ring.
The drifting by.
Yeah, as they're desperately trying to fix things before they get blown to pieces. While the remaining squadron is coming in for the kill. And then Ahsoka climbs out and does her little Jedi move, which Danny doesn't like, but that's because Danny's never seen any of the animated shows. This is par for the course for what they did on the animated shows.
Well, and I will give them a huge up. They did not turn her into frickin' Mary Poppins.
Yeah, I was actually halfway expecting that. When she was floating around in space, I was expecting her to use the Force to fly back to the ship.
So do her tentacles help her breathe or something? It looks like some kind of breathing apparatus. I'm just curious.
It does look like it. I don't know.
No, but it's just, I think, the easy way to get the oxygen around. Because if you got to have your lecky all wrapped up in a mask thing, why not just, double time it and use it for...
All right, okay.
I don't know. Yeah, do those tentacles serve a real purpose, or are they just...
Yeah, it's just an embellishment for the look of the aliens. I'm not sure if you go digging into the lore, there's all kinds of stuff behind it, but I'm not that interested to look into it.
Yeah.
So they get things working.
Again, homework.
Well, the thing is, the Star Wars lore is so freaking deep.
Oh, yeah. No, I know.
So they fly down into the planet, and that's when we get the space whales that really do.
So these are in a planet, so they're not really space whales.
No, they are space whales. They
go off into space as well. Yeah.
And these, okay, so I'll tell you this much, and they may explain this in future episodes, they may not, but these whales are capable of hyperspace travel.
Okay.
And so these whales are, and remember they talked about how Thrawn and Ezra and everybody disappeared. It was because
of like a humpback whale look.
Yeah,
they do
because of these creatures.
Yeah,
Ezra is, as a Jedi, one thing that he was very good at was communicating with animals, and he created a bond with these space whales. And the space whales literally ripped up. It was actually pretty badass. These space whales, you saw how big they are, right?
The big ones are almost the size of a regular Star Destroyer,
right? And you see that the back of these space whales has tentacles, right? You notice that, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So imagine these things basically wrapping their tentacles into a Star Destroyer, ripping it apart. and literally dragging the Star Destroyer through hyperspace. That's how they defeat Thrawn. And so but Ezra was on the
So
ship.
was Filoni like on mushrooms when he storyboarded this or came up with this idea?
I think so. I do.
Really cool, man.
Yeah.
Space
And
whales.
so these space whales dragged Thrawn and Ezra probably off to this other galaxy, and in this other Star Destroyer, but 9 years ago. So we'll find out what happened to them as the series progresses. Meanwhile, they're being chased around the space whales into the tentacles, and she makes her quick maneuver, and they actually manage to escape because in Star Wars, another reason that if we're talking about a battle situation, Star Trek will always win against Star Wars, because in Star Wars they have no sensors,
or what they do have are crap.
They're super inferior. Yeah, because
it
basically, if you don't have line of sight, you can't see them.
Seemingly,
yeah, because you
the smaller the ship, the more inept the ship too.
Right. Well, you can hide in cloud cover. You can hide in a forest, like the Enterprise could scan the planet and see exactly where they were.
Well, and don't forget the Millennium Falcon hid in a space worm.
Yeah. And hid by attaching itself to a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, right to the back of it.
Yeah. I mean, the Enterprise could scan and that's the thing, so the sensors in Star Trek are clearly far superior. The targeting systems are also completely line of sight, and notice that 99.9% of shots miss. And it's because it's all done through eyeball shooting.
Yeah.
Whereas in Star Trek, the computers do most of the aiming, which is why most of the time they hit, and they can hit from 100,000 kilometers away. In fact, much longer distances.
I mean, don't we in real life now, don't our fighter pilots have tracking and targeting? And
most of the time computers do all the
anything since like the very late 60s to the early 70s is basically a million times
Star
ahead
Wars
of this stuff.
Doesn't have this, and we've got
Star Wars is based on World War II tech.
So yeah, this is one of those things, just as a side note, this is one of those things that I'm perfectly fine with, because it falls under the same idea of design
rules
aesthetic
of the universe.
Yeah. And it's fine. Like the goofy, weird way that they do it, as long as they obey the rules as reasonably as possible, it's fine.
The only thing in Star Wars that has better range and stuff are missiles, which they have established. Like Boba Fett has missiles on his ship that can track.
Who can't track? What?
Remember, like they have missiles.
No, I know, but compared to what?
Compared to blasters. Blasters are strictly...
No, but compared to who? Like, are you mean in universe? The tech of missiles are actually smarter.
The only longer range weapon. Because like blasters only have a range of
like tens of kilometers or something like that,
right.
And the big weapons, I saw something that said that at very best it's like hundreds of kilometers, but at that point you're basically
it's not even really that, because like if you look at the whatchamacallit, what's the name of, if you look at Snoke's big old Star Destroyer, right? The maximum range of Snoke's ship is only about the same as the width of the ship.
The maximum range of Snoke's ship is the limitation of the writer's ability to write.
Right,
well.
but you know what? If that's the maximum range of the weapons, that's the maximum range of the weapons.
Well, and fire doesn't arc in the absence of a large gravitational battery.
It does,
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So they hide in the forest of red, pretty trees, because why not? And they have they have their little talk, and they're looking at what they're building, and they figure out that yes, this thing could do a hyperspace jump to another galaxy. So they figure out that they do need to get this information back, and that's where we see Darth Badass saying, "Okay, they're hiding in the forest. Let's go get them.
Go get them, minions."
Yep, and
And then boom, end of episode.
yes, which is yeah, it sucks that we didn't get more of him, but I have a feeling we'll get more of him next episode. All right, so what's the name of that dude?
The bad
What,
guy,
Balin?
Balin Skull.
That's no, the dude from the video game, and Crashdown.
Oh, yes, this is an excellent question. Because he does not show up.
Sam Witwer. Sam Witwer.
Okay.
He's under the
because he's not on the IMDb.
It's on the black. It's when it goes to black.
Oh, it's the scroll, the black scroll.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. We get to the main
All right. Okay. Hold up. So, okay, just hit play.
Well, I'm just making sure I'm going down back to the beginning of it.
Yeah, I'm playing it here.
Oh, I got it here. It's producers, associate producers, guest starring. Not there. Featuring. I don't see his name anywhere.
Now get to voice actors.
Is there a section for voice actors?
I'm looking here too.
Concept artists. I think you were sold a bag of goods there.
No.
Visual. I see
Nothing there.
artist credits, set dressers, stage foreman.
And they actually.
Yeah, there's.
Keep going.
Nothing there.
Tandem unit.
Oh my God, this hurts.
Unreal Engine. That's interesting.
Well, that explains things because if they're using UE5, then that makes all the sense.
That's Foreman.
No, it's not on that. It's at the bottom. He's like the. It's here.
Costume designers, drapers. Nope.
No, it's not on this one.
Dailies, VFX, color, main on, and
it's not on this one.
Feature.
Post-production, Skywalker sound, re-recording, additional voices: David W. Collins, Terry Douglas, Robin Atkin Downs, Helen Sadler, Sam Witwer, Matthew Wood, and Shelby Young.
Woodward.
Yep.
So he's listed as additional voices.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Which is weird though, because they do actually have an actor in here credited as being Merrick.
Stuntman. He's not an actor. He's a stuntman.
Paul Darnell.
If you look his credentials up, it's all stunt work.
So being additional voices, he could have literally been anything. He could have been like.
He could have been. And maybe they're just trolling us, or maybe it's a hint.
Well, I think they're trolling us. I think because you don't put somebody in the credits. If they're in the credits, it means they got paid.
Yeah.
And so that would mean that he may have been just a voice on the intercom. He could have been it's hard to say. But I mean,
it is interesting though.
He has a long record of working.
Yeah,
with
it'll be fascinating to see how this kind of comes together.
Now, I think it would. I have not played through the second Force Awakens game, so I don't know what the ultimate fate of that character was, as far as canonically. I like the first Force Awakens game. But do you know what that
I
didn't even know there was a second one. That's how out of it I am.
There was two. There was
the first one.
Yeah, I don't know what ultimately happened to his character, at least story wise.
Okay, so in Legends, Galen Merrick is Star Killer,
right?
But As for Star
And
Killer
isn't
from
the
the
isn't
video
that guy
game,
credited as just Merrick though?
yeah, the stunt,
the
the more
inquisitor
stunt
looking.
guy, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to find.
But now he's called Crashdown.
Yeah.
Speaking of, is it next week or in 2 weeks?
Next week we are only doing we're doing Lower Decks.
Lower Decks is next week, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lower Decks
All right.
and Star Wars. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's see what Wikipedia has to say about the game. What was that one? What was the name of the video game?
Come on.
Force
None of
Unleashed.
the
Force
Force
Unleashed 2 specifically.
Come on, we have 14 nerds here with us. None of you guys know the answer to this question?
Yeah.
None
What is Starkiller's status at the end of the second? I think that's the only. There's only 2 Force Unleashed games, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
That should be it for Starkiller.
So he is still called Galen in the video games.
Right.
So they're sticking with the Legends form of his name and everything. So let's go to part 2. Gameplay, blah, 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 plot. If you choose the light side, Starkiller spares Vader, who is arrested by the Rebel Alliance. Starkiller runs over to Juno and mourns her apparent death, but is pleased when she's... If you choose the dark side, Starkiller attempts to kill Vader, but is suddenly impaled from behind by a shrouded figure. Oh, so he should survive.
Yes, we all know that being impaled by a lightsaber is totally...
Unless your name's Qui-Gon Jinn, you're safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. After pushing Kota, his men, and Proxy into the ocean with the Force, the figure reveals itself as a dark Starkiller clone. Okay. While Vader explains to the dying Starkiller that he lied about not being able to perfect the cloning process after gazing at Juno's corpse.
Oh, well, dying. So he does die if you choose.
Yeah, so if you choose the dark side, you die. So in the video game, it's completely up to the player's choices.
But it sounds like if you choose the dark side, well, you find out that Vader has a clone of him, which means that the actor could still be playing him. It could just be a different version.
So this could be the clone.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that it very well could be. So in Legends, they call him Subject 1138,
which of course is another standard Lucas.
Yeah, THX 1138. Yeah,
they love to put 1138 into everything Lucas.
Yeah.
The episode was short, sweet, to the point. I enjoyed it. I thought that, this is how the Star Wars shows should go, as far as just give me a little bit of story, a little bit of action, keep me entertained, and, monkey dance, give me my money's worth for 30, 40 minutes and I'm good. I don't need something deep. This is not Star Trek. Star Trek, I complain because it's not deep enough. This, I'm not going to complain.
I'll be good.
No, you won't.
I was going to say, I've stepped in mud puddles shallower than a lot of what we've seen so far.
I don't care about that. And that's like, you make it sound like, this is space wizards and World War II in space. Nothing about Star Wars is realistic. Nothing about Star Wars has ever been super deep.
But I don't care about the realism. I'm looking for the story, and they're interested in trying to fill up the story with a bunch of eye candy. That's the problem.
The story is your basic, the bad guys are trying to bring back the ultimate baddie, and the good guys are trying to stop him. That's the story.
This is No Man's Sky, the series. You mean where you don't run into anybody, right?
I don't understand why it's so complicated to you. The bad guys are being bad. The good guys are trying to stop the bad guys from doing the bad thing. It's not that complicated. It's just that you want it to be more complicated.
Okay, so what we have is it is a show called Ahsoka that should have been restructured to be legitimately Rebels, the live action.
Right. It should have been called Rebel.
Okay.
It should not have been
It
called
sh-
Ahsoka.
It should be, yeah, and use the term, just own it. It's Rebels Legacy. Call it something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been way more than 8 episodes.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what all is going to happen yet. So.
Oh, well, I mean, after 3, it should have been way more than 8 episodes. We already know that this is going to be a running theme with every single series from everybody, because this nonsense with 10 or less episodes is costing them the ability to actually make people care.
Well, I mean, I think we all, I for the most part, like, I think that almost every show that does 10 episodes is lazy, because the season should be 20 plus episodes. But
yeah, so Rebels season 4 finale episode, we get told effectively by Filoni that as far as he's concerned, he's gonna show us, what happened, or show us that everybody can be brought back or something. Like, there's going to be finality other than just the two of the main characters disappear off into Never Never Land, never to be seen again. That's going to be resolved. Except we spend a bunch of time at the start on outrageously unnecessarily long fetch quest stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And sessions between everybody that are like people trying to imitate a really bad Shatner pause, because the conversations are stupidly long. And like, I don't know. Look, I'm just telling you, look, I watched the episode last night, the one that we're talking about specifically today. And I was less annoyed than with the first 2. I couldn't get myself to be prepared to give it any better than yet another 7 out of 10. But after rewatching it again after work, and then doing a couple of jump around homework checks, watching some episodes of Clone Wars, or some segments of Clone Wars, and some segments and a couple full episodes of Rebels, it gets a 6, and it leans really quick towards a 5.5.
So you're giving it a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because this is another one of these, and this is another problem with all this streaming stuff and too few episodes. Because I'm going to say it again, it's conditional.
No,
well,
it is.
I think we can say that for
right?
any of these series that are serialized. I mean, that I think that goes without saying.
It was a 7 last week, Stan.
Yeah.
Danny gave it a 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5 last week.
Yeah, me and Jason both gave last week's a 7, and
I gave it 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they pivot in the next 5 episodes, everything shifts around or something, maybe. It's weak.
So, yeah. Not to like reiterate this, but I almost feel like we should just wait till the end to give it a rating. If you're going to make me rate this episode, I've got to go with a 5. I just was not entertained. I was bored. I was more questions than answered. Didn't see my favorite character, but for like 2 seconds.
Hera.
So, no.
Balin.
No, we
yes.
saw Hera.
Yeah, actually, frustratingly, we got way more Hera than we got Balin, and that's not good.
Yeah. So this has to, especially if I'm based, last week was 6.5. This is definitely a 5 for me.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, I mean, I already gave it to you, my hot takes, and I've not really been engaged in the conversation because I don't really feel like arguing with you over some of the stupid shit you said. Like, there's a lower bar for Star Wars than there is
Wow.
Star Trek. I mean, come on. Like, you
No,
expect
that's a
less.
lower- I
You know,
say-
you expect less from your Star Wars, so that makes it better.
No, I
than
expect different
and-
things from Star Wars and Star Trek. So
let me
explain. Let me explain.
Yeah. All right.
From Star Trek, I want philosophical discussions. I want morality plays, stuff like that. All right, that's what I want from Star Trek. From Star Wars, I want action. I want space wizards. I want excitement. Now, when Star Trek delivers action and excitement, you know, do I complain in Star Trek? Not necessarily, but that's not what I want. What I want is the morality play. So I would prefer that in there. So, like, the reason I think Balance of Terror is the best of Trek is because while it had action, the morality between Kirk and the Romulan commander was really interesting, and seeing that balance there. With Star Wars, you know, the reason that I think that the original trilogy of Star Wars is great is because it's your classic good versus evil storyline. You know, they keep it simple. You don't
I forgot to mention that about this week's episode, Don. I did mention it last week. Again, the score is probably the best thing about this show. It really is good.
Yeah, and so with Star Wars, you know, it's your classic good versus evil. And when they try to muddle that, I think that's when Star Wars kind of falls apart. Like, that's why I think Andor was such a disaster for me. Was because they tried to gray the lines of good and evil in that show. And so when Star Wars is clearly good versus evil, I think it thrives. When Star Wars is trying to blur the lines of good versus evil, I think it falls apart. And Ahsoka, this particular episode, as far as Ahsoka, was just Ahsoka good. And, you know, I don't remember her name, but blonde attack dog girl and her squadron of death, evil. And, you know, that was the main focus of the episode. And I enjoyed the crap out of it. Now, here's as far as the series as a whole, yes, there are some structural problems. I think that what the series should have done was taken that first episode and made the entire first episode a series of flashbacks to fill people in on who these characters were and why they're, you know, who Ezra is, who Thrawn is, why it's, you know, what happened to them and why they're important. You know, because right now everybody's like,
I'd have been fine with an hour-long recap of previously on Rebels, but give it to us in live action. I don't know.
Yes, please.
Because right now nobody, and especially since they have obviously a live action Ezra and Thrawn, so it's not like, you know, and everybody knows it. So it's not like it's going to hurt anybody to have that. In fact, that would be really cool to have that excitement in the first episode of seeing some of that stuff in live action. The fans of Rebels would go Batwoman crazy to see some of that stuff in live action, and the people who haven't seen Rebels would enjoy an hour-long action-packed extravaganza, right? So I think it would work for both. And if you saw just how insanely clever and ruthless Thrawn was, and you saw that Ezra was a great self-sacrificing Jedi, and that the two of them disappeared, and then and they say, you know, that we started out that it's before the Battle of Yavin. I understand that they do have a young Ahsoka cast in the show, so we're going to get some flashbacks at some point. So we could have the young, you know, do a little retconning or something, have the young Ahsoka or have a young version of Sabine or whatever in those scenes, so that and then we can say, okay, 9 years later, and then pick up now, you know, and then people would feel a little bit more in the mode of what's going on. Because for the people that watch Rebels, we kind of get it. For people that haven't watched Rebels, that's why I said when we watched the first couple episodes, it's a mess if you don't know what the show is. And I know that's your biggest problem, Danny, is that you don't know what the heck is going on because you don't know these characters. However, if you just take it as, hey, Ahsoka good, Balin witch and blonde chick bad, right? And they're trying to get really bad guy, because blue guy in the other galaxy you do not want to f with. Like, he is so freaking smart and so freaking ruthless. Like, the Emperor's like, dude, tone it down a bit, okay? That's this guy is insane, huh? I mean, and I didn't think they could. When I saw him in the animated show, I was really impressed, because they made this guy seem like he's smarter than anybody else ever. They really successfully pulled it off. I'm hoping that they can do it for this show.
Well, and this is why I'm starting to get really concerned, is because Thrawn is and was a phenomenal character. Now, you said a bunch of stuff, and I want to take a moment and just skirt back to what you were saying about
Tim. What do you mean Thrawn wasn't ruthless? Are you insane?
Did you watch the last episode of the 4th season?
He freaking tried to nuke a city just to...
The guy... Actually, let's put it this way. Grand Admiral Thrawn collected art from planets and cultures that he absolutely intended on eviscerating.
Yeah.
The man was a sadist.
He would genocide a planet and take their art just because he thought their art was nice.
Well, Tim, now you're getting into, like, when you start talking about the books, bro, like,
yeah,
those don't
books
matter
equals
anymore.
you've treaded off into doesn't exist territory.
Yeah.
As much as we love it or hate it, even within the bounds of pre-Disney Star Wars, Legends was always the realm of hyper nerds.
Yeah.
Nobody who was a fan of anything that was on a small or big screen spent nearly as much time as hyper fans. So, like, I get it. It's awesome. And I can tell you, as someone who's read books before seeing movies before, I can absolutely understand the idea that the book will always be better than whatever it is that goes on screen. But Legends is not part of canon.
Yeah, and Mr. Trent, thanks for joining us. But I agree, it does a lot of telling, not any showing yet. I mean, we know the guy's going to show up. We've seen his blue face in a trailer. So,
and the problem is, they've said that Thrawn is a big threat, and they've said it several times. I mean, they said it back in Boba Fett, in Mandalorian. They said it again, like they even said it again in this episode, where they were like, Thrawn, But the problem is that you haven't seen it unless you've watched Rebels.
Yeah, and my fear is that somehow or another they're going to drop the ball.
Well, we don't know, but I know that you're going to be disappointed no matter what, because you're just a hater.
I got to keep Ariel. I got to keep
Ariel's
Ariel
not
happy.
Even here.
You should change your name to Canadian Hater. Did Ariel abandon us?
I believe so. But Daniel, welcome to the show. Balin gonna turn good. Man, that'd be cool, but because the actor died in real life,
Yeah, I know. We're having oddball, strange, self-harm wishes. We want him to die because no one can, even with the little bit we've seen of him, I don't think anyone could fill his shoes. So
yeah.
Besides, he seems too ruthless to go to the light side.
I don't know. He seemed awful romantic there for a minute there in the second episode. It'd be a shame that Ahsoka should be killed, and there's something else he made a comment on. He was just a little too romantic about certain aspects of.
Maybe you just thought Ahsoka was hot.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, if a guy's into Lecky, he's into Lecky,
Once you go tentacle, you
don't go back. But like, I want to like this a lot more, and like I said, there was a lot more to like in this than there was in the first 2 episodes, but it's just not coming together for me on the whole. So whatever goes on in the next 5 episodes, man, it better be It better be something.
Well, it'll be something. We just don't know what yet. A famous bear. Hey, how you doing? Just joining.
Well, we just finished, man. I mean, unless we want to shoot to, you know what, for the next 15 minutes. I mean,
Well, I was going to say, welcome aboard, all ashore.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so any predictions for Lower Decks?
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
I don't know. I just
Yeah.
expect cute little member berry slapstick for
I haven't
Lower Decks.
watched
I'm
the
good.
trailer. I've been kind of, I just want to go in fresh. You know, it'd
I'm
be cool
hoping-
if they referenced the crossover episode, but I don't know if they will.
Yeah, I would love to see Strange New Worlds show up in Lower Decks. That would be
Yeah.
hilarious. You know, so somehow, I mean, because that's that little thing they did at the end of the Strange New Worlds episode where they were animated was hilarious, and I would just like to see somehow they end up in the future and have to figure out a way to get home. Would just be huge fun.
No, I just probably a bunch of feel good member berries in animated form. You know, it's probably usually what we get.
But I could just see, could you imagine if they run, like somehow the Enterprise gets sucked into a vortex into the future and the Cerritos finds them and they come up to the Cerritos and on screen and Boimler's sitting there on the bridge and Pike looks and sees him and he's like, oh crap. Yeah, it's like, oh no. I remember you. It's like, oh man. And the captain would be like, Boimler, how do you know this guy?
What about you? I mean, you asked the question. Do you have any
Well, Lower Decks is to me the first couple of seasons of Lower Decks, except for when they go over the top with the sex stuff, I think has been really, really funny. So as long as they try not to do that too often, I'm going to enjoy the crap out of it. And I am really looking forward to it because unlike I've been a Star Trek fan since Star Trek was invented, but I still don't take it too seriously. So I have no problem making fun of it, which I hope people will understand when they see my Star Trek Day video, because I'm going to be a little mean, but it's I think that we all take things too seriously from time to time.
Well, it's also entertainment. It's, you know,
at the end of the day, it's a TV show, it's a movie, it's whatever, and we may love it and all that, but we have to understand it is still fantasy time. And it's not, not the real world. It's yes, I know you are more important. Yes, I know. Yes, you're the puppy. And your mom is here. Good.
Oh, hey, welcome. We're about to wrap it up, Mom, but hope your Bible study thing went well.
And so now I can't talk because I have a chihuahua blocking my mouth for some reason. She does this. I have no idea why she likes to do this. It's like she just wants to block my face.
Oh, and now you can't see anymore because you've got dog slobber all over your glasses. Yeah. Excellent. Oh,
I know you can't see him, but my cat and my dog are cuddling with each other. Yeah, I'll call you as soon as we get off here, Mom.
No, she means right now. You better call.
No, she didn't say that. That's just the slime on his glasses distorting what he's reading.
Right.
Jeez.
So yeah, it was a show.
And tomorrow, what do we? What's the episode we're going over tomorrow of Battlestar?
Battlestar.
Tease a little bit for the.
It
for the
was
return viewers.
I know.
The one after Fragged.
Yes, yeah. That's all I could remember is the one after Resistance.
Okay.
This is because this is the fallout from the martial law nonsense.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, is this?
That'll be our last Battlestar episode for a little while. So
It will. Yeah.
Yeah. This is.
Oh well. Oh my. Well.
Hey, look at this. At the tail end, you got a super chat
With 26
I forget what SEK is.
I think that's Swedish.
Yeah,
Oh, there
Swedish
we go. We got
krona.
the Eartha Kit. Look at that.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was krona, but I was
Eartha Kit, my favorite.
yeah. There we go.
Yes. By the way, people that super chat, you get random hot chicks. That's the new thing.
I dig it.
So Ahsoka has a super hat. Ahsoka has a super hat.
Maybe he meant super chat and left off the C. I don't know.
I think he just means the big headpiece.
Yeah. I don't understand that about whatever her species is. What is that?
Somebody did a video and I saw it roll by in my suggested because it's not from a channel I normally watch, and I'll probably watch it tonight. It's a little long, so I don't know if I'll get through it, but it supposedly explains all the whole Lecky. I think Tim put a comment in earlier that there's something about they gives the Togruta extra levels of sensitivity to things around them or something. So my Star Wars nerdiness does go deep enough that I do know the species that she is. So Togruta. She's a Togruta. She's not a Twi'lek.
Well, yeah, I know she's not a Twi'lek, but she's. I remember I actually did see that Star Wars short where she was born. Did you see that one?
Yeah. My favorite Star Wars short is the one where you find out the whole she got trained to effectively be ready for the fight on board the Star Destroyer.
Yeah. That
at the end of episode, or at the end of season 7.
Yeah. And yes, Don, your number 2 favorite current Star Trek show, Lower Decks. That would be mine too. Is Lower Decks? Yeah. Stop! You insane little bat! You are an insane little bat. And your mom, of course, can't stop promoting other people's channels on my channel.
I wasn't even gonna. I was gonna no sell it. I was gonna give her grief.
I'm not reading it. I'm not reading it. I'm just saying you gotta talk to your mom about that when you call her, and you need to have a little conversation with her. Yeah, you know, she can pimp your channel. That's okay, but that's it. She gotta learn.
So I've got something fun in the works for my channel coming soon. We've already we got a logo for it. So the ex-wife and I are going to do a show probably only like once a month because she's very non-committal. It's called May Divorce Be With You. And in our first episode, we are reviewing, because I've been going down this Jack Nicholson rabbit hole, right? And I was talking to her the other day. I was like, man, As Good as It Gets would have been the perfect episode for us to review for May Divorce Be With You. And then she was like, well, what about Witches of Eastwick? And I was like, sold. Oh yeah, that'll be great. So we're going to do Witches of Eastwick. And once I know the date, it's going to be like more of a pre-recorded thing. So once I know the date, I'll share that with you guys, but that's cool. I've got that in the works. Yeah. Plus the Sunday wrestling show's coming back. We're going to keep it at 11 for a little bit. I'm hoping to get Nikki Victory back to cut me a new promo so I can do it later in the day. But and for those of you who tried to tune in this past Sunday, I had a brain fart moment. I was going to start doing this because I did one Friday, then I was going to do go back to Sundays. But the pay-per-view, the wrestling pay-per-view was on from 9 a.m. until like 2 or 3, something like that. It was because it was in the UK. So I totally forgot that was like, so I'd rather watch wrestling than talk about it. Yeah.
So he was pissing his money away, in other words, on the pay-per-view to watch.
Oh no! He was prepping for his show. Come on, man.
Yeah,
the show cost.
Yeah.
To watch men in
Totally.
spandex rubbing ground on each other in a ring.
Sure. I had to. Hey, look, I had to watch Strange New Worlds episodes.
Okay, I got a request. Even though he gave you the money and not me, I gotta do super hat. That was for you, Daniel. That was for you, buddy.
Well, you're not supposed to get money. Money's supposed to.
No. It's in your. It's in yours.
And Miss Moneypenny, that's okay for you to promote me on other channels. You're not understanding. Then you're gonna
be very Christian-like right now, Michael. Come on, stop giving my mother grief.
What I'm saying, it's okay for her to do that.
Just don't do it here.
We just got to educate her on how to properly do this. You're her son. I'm trying to get her to help you.
For sure.
Right? Not to get people to go away from when you're live streaming over to Loki.
We'll be done. I won't be able to call her, though, if we don't go ahead and...
All right, so we'll wrap it up, I guess. So remember, tomorrow we'll be talking about Battlestar Galactica Resistance. Next week we'll be talking about whatever the 4th episode of Ahsoka is, as well as the 1st episode of season 4. Can you believe that? Of Lower Decks.
Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
And making Lower Decks the longest running halfway decent Star Trek series of the new century.
Since 2009,
yeah. And so the
if they get a 5th season, they will officially be
no, because Discovery is getting a 5th season, so
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
they did get that, but did they?
Hey, Mercer, welcome. We're saying goodbye right now, but hello.
Did they actually get it finished filming?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Oh, I know. It's just if it's not finished filming, then that means maybe we'll never have to see it.
That would be nice. I still say, as far as
I'm not watching it regardless. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, you are.
I'm on your boat too, man.
No, come on, guys. You get it.
I didn't watch any of season 3 or 4.
You gotta be professionals here.
I will watch Buckaroo Banzai.
Well, you guys,
I like
be professionals here. You can do it. You gotta buck up and do it. And besides, it'll be fun because we'll be doing it together as friends. Well, talking about it. It'll be like we'll be like a support group.
Hey, at least we'll all agree and we'll be able to mock it incessantly.
Yeah, see. And the good thing is it'll be the last season, so we can enjoy that.
So what was your score, Mike? Because Mercer.
Oh yeah,
I gave it a 4.
Yeah. I would give this, man. You see, the problem is I gave last week a 7. I did think this episode was better, but I can't quite give it an 8 because 8 is
7.5.
Yeah, I'll say 7.5.
Right.
And
so we got 5, 6, 7.5. Is that what we got here?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm looking forward to seeing where the series goes. As far as I'm concerned, if the writer's strike never ends, that's too soon. Just Hollywood, just hire new writers.
Yes.
Seriously. Just hire new writers. Screw those guys on strike. Just hire new writers. There's a reason that these shows are sucking, and it's not because if you look at even like all the problems with Ahsoka that we've talked about have nothing to do with the actors. It has nothing to do with the visual effects. It has nothing to do with the producers. It has nothing to do with the directors. It has nothing to do with anything but the writers.
Which sadly at this point with this show is only Filoni.
Right. Well, Filoni, you can continue to direct, you can continue to produce, but stop writing your own material.
He's been huffing too much of his own product or something.
Right. And
not enough.
new writers that know how to write sci-fi when we're doing sci-fi.
Yeah, because he literally wrote all 8 episodes all himself. That's it.
Right. Now, it could be that Filoni, since he did write all 8 episodes, he's going somewhere very specific in the setup. We'll see.
Well, I know he's got the movie afterwards that's been greenlit, so maybe that's part of the problem is we've got this long walk towards this movie that won't get made anytime soon because everybody's on strike.
Right, because this show and the next season, The Mandalorian and all that are all set up for this movie. The movie's going to feature Thrawn, so
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That just feeds into, well, I actually my closing comment
the
is
MCU-itis.
yes, and Star Wars belongs on the big screen, Star Trek belongs on the small screen, and they've been putting way too much content out. I know I enjoyed all the cartoons, that's all fine and dandy, but at this point they've MCU'd the crap out of this franchise.
And that's where of course Jason is wrong. But I do think the MCU thing you're right about, but I disagree with you as far as Star Wars belonging on the big screen. I think the Star Wars stuff on the small screen is great. I do agree, however, that the MCU stuff where they're making stuff too integrated is true. That's a real problem. I think it's perfectly fine to have all these different Star Wars shows. I don't mind the big amount of content, but keep them in their individual wheelhouses. Keep the Mandalorian doing Mandalorian stuff. Have Ahsoka do Ahsoka stuff. Sure, every now and then you can meet each other, but it should be like when Laverne and Shirley meet up with Fonzie. They shouldn't be so interconnected that they're dependent on each other. It should just be like, oh yeah, they happen to be in the same universe.
Well, and the reason why I say what I did about big and small screen is because if Star Wars is stuck on the big screen, it forces them to have to be careful about what and how they write.
No, it doesn't. Because look at the sequel trilogy.
Well, you guys are the salt of the earth. He's the salty trekker.
And today I'm the crusty Canuck.
And he's the crusty Canuck. And
wait, you used my outro? You're not supposed to do that. That's not even right. Because the next thing you know,